Okay, time for another lesson in how to be miserable. Equate upset with action and calm with apathy. And this one is quite good because not only will it make you miserable, it will also make it seem important that you are miserable. And it will foul up your relationships as well. So it's a kind of three-fer. And of course, if you're one of those people who doesn't fully appreciate the value of being miserable, then this is another of those things to avoid doing. So, here's the path. Imagine that there's something going on in the world that you don't like. The climate is changing, your country's leader is degrading your nation, your job is in danger, your local fast food place has stopped serving your favorite item, whatever. Now, there are two ways of reacting to this situation, maybe three. The first is to get upset. You can be anxious or angry or enraged or despondent or some other distressing emotion. Sit on the couch and really feel it. Collapse into paralyzed inaction. The second is to do something about it. Get involved in a voter registration drive. Work on reducing your own carbon footprint. Update your resume in case you need to go job hunting. Write the fast food place to protest the menu change. Any of these things might help. They may not resolve things completely, but they're a contribution. In a tug of war, you have a bunch of people pulling the rope one way and another bunch pulling the rope the other way. If you get in there and pull the way you want the rope to go, your effort alone is unlikely to make the difference. But with others working with you, you might move it your way. I mentioned a third strategy, and that's to do both. Get upset and take action at the same time. And again, because you're taking action, you might actually make some change. Though, if you're writing your resume or cooking dinner when you're furious or terrified or despondent, you're not likely to do the greatest job. So sometimes reacting both ways is worse than just taking action. The most effective thing is often to put your feelings aside, calm down, and look at the situation to see what actually needs to be done. So don't do that. So again, the path. The way to feel worse is to treat emotion and action as the same thing and to value them the same way. So taking action might actually help. What you need to do is believe that being emotionally upset is just as useful, or maybe, ideally, even more useful. So getting really anxious about your side of the tug of war losing is the same or better as getting in there and helping pull. Now, how does that make you miserable? Well, it means that being unhappy is really important. You being miserable sitting on your couch is going to produce change. So it's valuable to do. You should stomp around your house yelling about your irresponsible leader. Why? Well, because they are irresponsible, and so you need to do it. Maybe somehow you'll create a disturbance in the force and they'll lose the next election. Probably not, but you never know. Conversely, it means that if you aren't upset, you don't care. So the environmental advocate who's calm and strategic and who works at their cause, figuring out how to make the gains that need to be made, is actually worse than the person who's upset and who rages about things on Twitter. Because obviously, the calm one doesn't care that much. This makes misery not just important, not just useful, but morally superior to being calm. Emotional distress is the mark of the thoughtful person, and its lack is the mark of ignorance and apathy, even if the person who isn't upset is actually doing more than the person who is upset. It's being upset that's important, not taking concrete steps toward a solution. There's a 2015 Steven Spielberg movie with Tom Hanks and Mark Rylance called Bridge of Spies, mostly historical. The Tom Hanks character is a US lawyer charged with defending Rudolf Abel, the Rylance character, who's been spying for the Soviet Union. And he really has. That's not questioned in the film. The two develop a kind of grudging friendship, and eventually there's a deal to exchange him for Gary Powers, an American pilot who was shot down over the Soviet Union. Now, Abel has been caught and is in a very grim situation throughout the film. At several points in the plot, he's asked whether he's anxious or worried, and he says the same thing. Will it help? In other words, if I get worried, will this resolve the situation in some way? He seems to be saying, if it's not going to change things, what does it matter how I feel? And of course, he can get as anxious as he likes, and that won't change a thing. And he knows it. So the Abel character has drawn this really clear distinction between outside action and inside emotion. He does not see the emotions as useful, so he does not try to crank them up. Now, it's obvious in the film that he is worried. He doesn't completely escape the normal emotional impact of events that are happening to him. None of us can. What he doesn't do is magnify the emotions by holding the hidden belief that they are the same as action, or that they will help solve the problem. We're so used to having both. We try to change things that distress us, and at the same time, we feel anxious or angry or upset. And those two reactions happen together over and over and over again. Eventually, they can become almost welded together as though they're the same thing. But of course, they're not. If you're trying to protect a section of rainforest from clear cutting, you can sob into your pillow all you like. It won't save a single tree. But if you figure out who the important actors are, what they value, how to communicate with them, and how to apply public pressure, it's often surprising how much you can do. And you might protect that wilderness. And clenching your stomach, or grinding your teeth, or feeling despair would have nothing to do with it. This confusion of emotion with action even finds its way into the news. The interviewer will often say to an expert things like, "Just how worried should we be about this, doctor?" Implicitly, if it's an important issue, then we should be worried. Either because that'll solve the problem, which it won't, or because morally superior people are worried. I mentioned that this idea would help foul up your relationships on top of everything else. So how does that work? Easy. Just apply the idea to the people around you. So if your best friend or your coworker or your partner isn't upset or angry or anxious about something, you can interpret that. They are too stupid to understand the issue, or they don't care about the environment or your country, or social justice, or whether the kitchen is clean. Don't base your view on what they actually do. Base it on what they seem to be feeling, because it's their emotions that count. So if you're organizing dinner for a group of people, and your partner is just calmly going around, setting the table and checking things in the oven, but they aren't freaking out, get angry with them. You don't care about this at all. You must not even like these people. And you don't have any respect for me. Look how upset I'm getting, and you're perfectly calm. And then if they ask how getting upset will make dinner work out better, then you can really blast them. Demand that they be as miserable as you are, which is a great maneuver because you'll probably succeed. You will make them miserable. Plus, they will blame you for that. And they'll be right. So let's sum up. To be miserable, believe that your emotional reaction is just as important as actual problem solving. And for extra points, make it more important. Given a choice between someone calmly registering voters or chopping vegetables or organizing a meeting, And someone who is enraged and can't sleep at night, it's the one who feels most strongly, who is the most virtuous. If you're not looking for more misery in your life, then do the opposite. Believe that it's the action that counts. Accept the fact that we are emotional creatures, so we're going to get upset about things. But don't magnify the emotion out of a hidden belief in its importance or usefulness or virtue. If something bothers you, get to work. You can't solve every problem, and you can't save the world single-handedly. Sometimes you'll make an effort and get nothing for it. But in the long run, you're more likely to have an impact if you value action over emotion.